Imagine a man so powerful that when the entire U.S. economy was on the brink of collapse, the government didn't step in. He did. A private banker, with no elected office, no army, no title, but more control over America's fate than the president himself. This is the true story of J.P. Morgan, the man who didn't just finance empires, he owned them. The rise of a titan. Born in 1837 in Hartford, Connecticut, John Pierpont Morgan was not born poor, but he was born into pressure. His father, Junius Spencer Morgan, was a stern international banker with connections to London's powerful financiers. From a young age, Pierpont wasn't nurtured, he was sculpted. He was taught math before toys, etiquette before play, and business before dreams. He studied at Boston's English High School, then went abroad to study finance in Switzerland and the University of Göttingen in Germany, becoming fluent in German, the language of trade, war, and money in Europe. By the time he returned to America, he was a walking calculator wrapped in tailored suits. At age 20, he began his Wall Street career as an apprentice at Duncan Sherman & Company, the U.S. representative of his father's London-based firm, George Peabody & Co. But he wasn't content being a puppet of old Europe. He wanted to be the new god of American capital. While others speculated wildly and crashed during the Civil War, Morgan played smart. In one early deal, he bought faulty rifles from the Army for $350 each, repaired them, and sold them back to the government for $22 apiece, sparking controversy but proving his brutal efficiency in arbitrage. This was a pattern: find chaos, cut the fat, control the core, profit. By 1871, Morgan partnered with the influential banker Anthony Drexel to form Drexel, Morgan & Copers, a merchant bank that soon became America's most trusted vault. It wasn't just timing, it wasn't luck. It was relentless discipline, inherited legacy, and an iron grip on numbers, reputation, and leverage. Morgan didn't inherit an empire. He engineered it, with steel nerves, cold logic, and no mercy for the weak. Empire builder. Morgan didn't just back companies, he forged industries. In 1892, he engineered the merger between Edison Electric and Thomson Houston to form General Electric, launching the electrification of America. In railroads, he seized control after the Panic of 1893, eventually controlling 1/6 of the U.S. rail system. And in 1901, he pulled off the deal of the century. He bought out Andrew Carnegie's steel empire for over $492 million and combined it with others to form U.S. Steel, the world's first billion-dollar corporation. At his peak, J.P. Morgan wasn't just a banker, he was a kingmaker, a living trust machine who consolidated industries at a scale the world had never seen, but consolidation had a price. In 1902, Morgan pushed too far. He helped form Northern Securities, a mega-trust that controlled 3 massive railroads. That's when Theodore Roosevelt stepped in. The president declared war on monopolies, and Morgan was target number 1. Legend says Morgan offered, "Send your man to see my man and we'll fix it up." Roosevelt refused. The Supreme Court broke up Northern Securities in 1904. It was the first major antitrust victory in U.S. history, and a slap to Morgan's empire. But if you thought that would stop him, you don't know Pierpont Morgan. The Panic of 1907, Morgan becomes America's central bank. Then came the Panic of 1907, Wall Street's worst crisis yet. Banks collapsed, the market spiraled, panic ruled. And who saved the economy? Not Congress, not the president, J.P. Morgan. He locked New York's top bankers in his library and refused to let them leave until they agreed on a rescue plan. He organized emergency bailouts, called in John D. Rockefeller for a $10 million deposit, and even greenlit a controversial U.S. Steel acquisition, all in one weekend. It worked. The market stabilized, banks reopened, America was saved, and the world realized one man had more financial authority than the U.S. government itself. The secret power behind the curtain. Morgan's dominance wasn't just money, it was leverage, hidden, calculated, unstoppable. In 1895, when the U.S. was about to run out of gold, Morgan secretly met with President Cleveland. He offered a lifeline. His syndicate, with help from the Rothschilds, would privately buy $62 million in bonds, paying in gold. The deal stabilized the Treasury and earned Morgan $3 million in profit. That's when people started asking, who really runs America, the government or J.P. Morgan? By 1912, the Pujo Committee launched a full investigation into what they called the Money Trust. Morgan was summoned to testify. When asked whether wealth or collateral build trust in banking, he famously replied, "The first thing is character." He wasn't just defending himself, he was defending a system built on backroom deals and invisible power. Death of a king, rise of a legacy. Morgan died in 1913, not in Wall Street but in Rome. The New York Stock Exchange shut down in his honor, something reserved only for presidents. He left behind an estate worth $80 million less than Rockefeller's, but that wasn't the point. Because Morgan didn't just own money, he controlled the flow of it. His influence led directly to the creation of the Federal Reserve, the very central bank he once personally replaced. His firm lives on today as J.P. Morgan Chase, the largest bank in America with over $4 trillion in assets. J.P. Morgan wasn't a politician, he didn't run for office, he didn't give speeches or wave flags, but he shaped America more than most presidents ever could. He built industries, he saved economies, and he showed the world that in capitalism, power doesn't come from titles, it comes from control. He didn't just fund the American dream, he owned it. If this story opened your eyes, hit like, share this video, and subscribe to Global Money Mindset. And remember, in a world run by money, he who controls the money controls the world.